Blessings and abundance. Welcome back to the Zen Effect Show. This is a talk show supporting you on this journey that we are all on called life. You all, can you believe it? Christmas is this week. Say what? Say what? How did we get here? Is it just me? Does anyone else feel as if this year just flew, like literally flew by you all? This is a time of reflection. This is a time to take that pause. Take that pause and just be. And just be. And care for you. Reflect on this year, the celebrations, the things you navigated, the challenges, the obstacles, all the things. And then focus on what you're moving into and expanding into in 2026. I'm not going to go too deep into it because next week we're going to talk a little bit deeper about that, okay? But I want you to just do some reflection. And I want you to ask yourself this question. What was the theme of this year for you? Like for me, it was expansion. What was the theme for you? What's the word for you? And how did that theme / that word, how is it supporting what you're wanting to expand into in 2026? Because I truly believe that theme, that word, even that phrase, cultivating what you will harvest in 2026. And this is a continued cycle that happens. If you want to share it with me, go ahead and email me. I would love to hear it from you so I can read it on the show and speak more to it. You can leave yourself anonymous. Just email me, the Zen Effect, that's EFFECT Co. So the Zen Effect Co @gmail.com, or just DM me on Instagram and TikTok. Just search the Zen Effect Show. You all, we know that every single conversation that takes place here on the Zen Effect Show is designed to empower you, to inspire you, and support you to shape your soul, shift your world, and return home to your power so you can live fully in your effect and in your purpose, in your design, and live your life as you will it to be. Because this is the hub for conversations. I have conversations with thought leaders across music, entertainment, wellness, authors, all rooted in supporting you in navigating this journey that we are all on called life. Follow the Zen Effect Show again on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And if you got a topic that you want to hear, visit my website, thezeneffectco.com, and click submit a topic, or again, just DM me. You can DM me a reel that you see and you're like, Zen, I would love for you to speak on this. And if you're looking to amplify your reach and elevate your brand, your business, maybe you're a speaker, you want more speaking engagements, whatever the case may be, you can now become a sponsor of the show. Being a sponsor of the show does this. Your support helps expand conversations that uplift our daily lives and that will move and perpetuate the world more forward, as it also will give your business premium exposure and a platform across internet radio, YouTube, podcast platforms, and you also can receive in-studio product placement, you all. Not only are you supporting the show, you're also expanding your reach, your impact at the same time. Because think about it, on this show, literally there could be anywhere from 2,000 to 8,000 people listening right now that didn't even know you existed. That's huge, you all, from all over the globe, because this show plays in 80 plus countries. And also, if you're hosting an event and you want to expand your reach and spread more awareness, I would love for you to reach out to me. I would love to spotlight it. So go ahead and contact me again. Go to my website, the Zen Effect the Zen Effect Co.com, or my Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube is the Zen Effect Show. Okay, it's show on the social media, co on the website, and I would love to support you in amplifying your voice, your brand, your business, and expanding more of you into the world. You all, today's guest is someone who truly understands the power of community, care, and what it means to build a village in a world that often tells us to do everything alone. You all, when COVID happened, it really shifted things. And I know that's been almost 6 years ago. Can you believe it? Almost 6 years ago. And it really affected, because we got to this place where we looked inside of ourselves. A lot of relationships, friendships shifted, ended, transitioned. And we have AI, all these different things, to where relationships are not cultivating as widespread as they used to. So that's why it's so important to have this conversation. So I'm so excited to have Florence Ann Romano on this show. And this is actually a previous interview that I did with her, but it's really been on my spirit to have you all listen to this, because there's so many gems and so many insights given. And it really speaks to where we are when it comes to community today, and how to rebuild your community, how to strengthen your community. Just a little bit about Florence Ann. She is a national recognized author, philanthropist, and advocate for families, children, and community care as a whole. She's known to many as the Windy City Nanny, a title she earned after spending over 15 years working directly with families as a child care provider, gaining real, lived, on-the-ground wisdom about what support actually looks like in real life. She is the author of the powerful book, Build Your Village, where she reminds us that community isn't optional, it's essential, it's vital at every single stage in your life. We all know, as when you're in adulthood, making friends doesn't come as easy as it did when you were a kid, when you were a teenager, even when you were in college. Beyond her writing, Florence Ann, look, I can read her credentials for days, but I want to also share that she's a founding member of Sesame Street's Leadership Council. Yes, that's right, Sesame Street. She's made hundreds of media appearances, literally like hundreds of media appearances. I discovered her on the Sherry Shepherd Show. And in these media appearances, she's sharing insight, warmth, and practical wisdom on how we reconnect with not only ourselves, with other people, and with the people who help shape our lives. You all, this is a conversation about belonging, support, and remembering that none of us are meant to do life alone. You all, I'm so grateful and so excited for you to hear this beautiful conversation.
I always say about the book, I could give you this roadmap. I could give you all the directions to the village that, you want. And because, you hear people use that term all the time that, where's the village? What's the number to call? These people just show up at your door. What is it? And I can help you do all of this. And that's my goal, obviously, is to do that. But unless you're going to get in the car and drive there, these directions aren't going to mean anything. They're not going to mean anything. And we have to be our own solution too. And so that's also what I want people to understand is most of the time, you're not going to make a change unless you're really ready to do it. So you can sit there and say to me, people have said it to me before, I'm lonely. I don't have the friends. I don't have a social calendar that I really like. I feel like I don't have a purpose. And then we'll start talking about, well, what's going on in your life and what are you doing about it? What have you been doing to try to fix it? And, there's not really an answer there. They really are like, well, I'm really, really not. Or I just, I don't know. It's so hard. I don't know what to do. Well, that's the first problem. The first problem may be that you are not putting the effort in. You are not deciding that you want it bad enough to change.
What would you say to the person who may be asking as they're listening to this, Florence, how do I get ready? Like I want it, but how do I get ready? Like, what does that look like? What is the first step? What can really activate that for me?
I want people to look at their lives and, again, the ecosystem that you've kind of built for yourself. We talk about these 6 villagers, accepting, dependable, cheerleader, communicator, organizer, and healer. And I'm sure we're going to talk about more about this then, but I just want to set it up there. As you start thinking about who fits into those definitions, without me even giving a definition myself to it, I'm sure you're automatically starting to do that. As you start looking at how your life currently exists, the current ecosystem, like I said, start figuring out where you feel like the holes are. Let me give an example. Okay, maybe it is that you can say, I have all 6 of these people in my life. They're there, but I'm still not feeling fulfilled. I'm still waking up feeling like I have this kind of this void or this gap existing within me. Well, it could be then that the people that you've cast in these roles are not the right person or people for these roles. Maybe you need to move the people around in the seats a bit. Maybe you're looking at someone as your dependable villager and they keep falling short. They keep coming up short. They keep disappointing you. Well, maybe that's because you're asking them to be someone they're not. Maybe that's not their strengths. And so you need to think, you know what? I need to figure out who this person is. You want to meet someone where they are, not where you want them to be. And a lot of the time, figuring that out is going to help you shuffle the deck. It's going to help you move those villagers around and figure out where they actually belong, what seat they should be sitting in. Because maybe they are someone who should be in your village. Maybe they're not someone you're just going to fire. They're just not where they are in order to be working to their strengths just to support you. That's the first place I would start, making sure you've actually cast these people in the right role. After you do that then, and you're like, all right, I feel like everyone's sitting in the right seat now. Where now are the gaps? Do I not have a healer villager? And that's what I really need to work on. I need to work on seeking that person out. And also, what am I doing? How am I participating in other people's villages? Am I meeting people where they need me to meet them? Or am I putting not inappropriate in like a bad way, or am I putting inappropriate expectations on somebody regarding how, not that they're showing up for you, how I'm showing up for them? And that giving that pause, thinking really about what could I be working on too to show up better for my friends in the villages that I'm in.
Would you give an example of an inappropriate expectation?
Yes. I've had many relationships in my life, whether they're romantic or just friendships, where you look at a person and you think, gosh, why couldn't you understand that that's what I needed? Why did I have to tell you? And that always drives me crazy because I'm like, we're not mind readers. How am I supposed to know how to help you if you don't ask for it? And this was an example in a previous relationship of mine. And this was a romantic relationship, but he would always get upset that I wouldn't know that I should have shown up for him in the way that he needed me to. And then he had children actually. And he would get mad at me for not supporting him enough with his kids, where like he needed me to go with him when he would go shopping for their clothes that I didn't offer to go with him. And I'm like, well, why didn't you ask me to come with you instead of waiting for me to fail? Instead of later on telling me, Florence Ann, the fact that you didn't offer to come shopping with me for their back to school clothes, you didn't show up for me. Why couldn't you be there for me in that moment? I'm like, you didn't ask me to. I wasn't going to just impede myself on your life, and feel like that was an expectation of me that was needed. So that's a place where I think it's inappropriate. It's inappropriate for you just to wait for me to fail instead of just communicating me simply this. Got to take the girls back to school shopping. This isn't like the most natural thing for me to do as a single dad. I could really use your help if you can make the time to come. We'll do it around, your schedule. That would have been simple. But he put an expectation on me, and instead, then I felt like I let him down. I let his daughters down. I let myself down because I felt like I didn't show up for someone I loved. And then that became a really icky moment. And it could have been avoided simply by communication and simply by asking for what you need. I think we're seeing in society today a lot of the mental health and well-being side effects there. And that this epidemic of loneliness is causing a lot more of that isolation, not because of COVID anymore. You are isolating yourself. And it's not about the quantities of people that you have in your life. It's the quality of people that you have in your life. And it's not also about even being with those people every single day. That they're in that, geographic proximity to you. Some of the closest relationships I have, they don't even live in my state. I probably only get to see them maybe if I'm lucky a couple or a few times a year. But they're the closest people in my life that we make time for each other. We make sure we text. We make sure we phone call or FaceTime, and I get to see their kids or whatever it is. So this idea that, again, going back to it's a weakness to ask for help, perpetuating this idea that I'm too busy for friends and I don't need anyone but myself. Well, I actually think you're saying a mouthful there. There's something much deeper going on with those people that say, I don't have time for friends. It's them, I also think, feeling like, again, there is a rejection that they're worried about, but then also looking a little bit deeper into that. You saying you don't have time for friends means you are just all into yourself. And I don't understand how people don't take pause and think about other people and how they can be helpful. In my life, I will say, Zen, I don't know the meaning of life. I say this all the time. I have no idea what the meaning of life is, but I know what my meaning of life is. My meaning of life is to live a life in service of others. So it doesn't mean that I'm not taking care of myself. I have to put that oxygen mask on myself first so I can take care of other people. But if you're sitting there telling me that you're too busy for friends, then that's telling me that you have no desire to show up for people, no desire to look outside of yourself. You're only concentrating on what serves you. And I don't know. That's not a person I want to know. That's not a person I want to be friends with, because clearly everything there in that relationship is going to be transactional or one-sided. I was born into an old-fashioned Italian family, a multi-generational home. My grandparents lived with us. I mean, it was the best time ever. But I also understand that not everybody grew up in a household like mine. Not everybody was born into a family like mine. My first villagers were my immediate family. They were my cousins. They were my first best friends. So that's why I also want to challenge people to look at what your life is and realize that when you maybe feel out of control, because there's so many places then where we feel out of control, I always say there is a place you can take control. There always is. No matter what's going on, there is a way to do that. And maybe you weren't born into that village that you wish you had. But now as an adult, you have the choice to actually create that for yourself. You can choose the people that become your family. You can have that as a real living, breathing organism, living, breathing village in your life if you make the right choices and you do the work to put yourself out there, make those relationships, find those people, and then tend to that garden. But again, you have to want it. But I don't want people to think that they're exempt from having this village that we're talking about if you weren't born into it, because that has nothing to do with it as you start to get older and start to own your life. I want to empower people to do that. You're going to cast these villagers kind of like you do in a movie or a play. These are the main characters in your life. So let's start with the first one, accepting. This is who I would consider your non-judgmental villager. Think about a person that you've recently confided in or told a secret to. That's your accepting villager. It tends to be probably the most important one you start with, I would say, because everyone in life wants to be seen, heard, and understood. And this villager does a lot of that. So that's accepting. Dependable. This is your emergency contact. I always laugh that it's the person that you would call if you were stuck in a ditch somewhere, but no one answers their phone anymore now, Zen. So I don't know who you're calling to, get you out of that ditch. Now, I'll tell you what, I am all of my friends' emergency contact because I always answer my phone. And I'm not only just that, I'm not just their emergency contact, I'm their kids for their school or their daycare. If they can't get a hold of their mom or dad, they call Aunt Lo. So I'm that dependable person for some people in life. But your emergency contact, not just, if you're in a ditch somewhere, but it's someone that that is consistently there. That it's someone that it doesn't matter the time of day or how long it's been even since you've talked to them, that they're going to be able to be there for you. So that's dependable. Cheerleader, one of my favorite ones. So this is your hype person. If you're going through a transition in life, this is the person that's going to be there to be like, you can do this, cheer you on. Yes, not just during the exciting times, but also during the tough stuff too. When life gets a little icky, this person's going to be there to help say, I'm going to be able to not just walk next to you through it, but be able to make sure that you know that you're not alone in it. And some of these you're going to see have a little cross-pollination too. But your cheerleader is the one that is always going to be just 100% sold out for you. So then your communicator. This person is kind of curious, even-tempered. Think about a stove. You've got a pot on a stove that's boiling. They're always going to turn the temperature down on the stove. They're not going to turn it up. They're going to put the lid on it. They're someone you can depend on that way to make sure that what's going on in life just kind of has that calm factor attached to it. So now organizer has a little bit of overlap here, but your organizer is someone I like to think of as decluttering both your heart and your home. It's the person that's able to bring that peace again to your life, but also someone that you can delegate to that is going to get the job done, because it's no use delegating to someone if they're not actually going to follow through. That's the only way you get peace of mind from delegating, is if that person's going to do it. So that organizer is very important in that way. And then the last one, healer. This one I would say has a lot of different threads, perhaps, of the other villagers, but there's something very specific about a healer. They are going to walk next to you and through it with you, no matter what, whatever the it is in life. Sometimes that's the beautiful stuff. And sometimes that's the really hard stuff, the really icky stuff. But they're your North Star. They're the one that does make you feel better, but also a very important caveat. They're not there to fix you or to fix the situation necessarily. They're there just to be next to you, be with you. One thing I always say to people, whenever I have a new follower on Instagram, I always, people think this it's an automatic thing. I always send a message myself to whomever it is that's following along. And I always sign off that message by saying with you. And that's truly what I mean by this village is I am with you. And that healer villager is really the epitome of that, is what it means to be with you through it. So those are kind of a snapshot of the 6. I think I always say to people, instead of for like your New Year's resolution, instead of you being like, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, or I'm going to be in the gym 7 days a week, or I'm going to give up, sweets. Wouldn't it be great if we decided that a New Year's resolution was going to be you picking one of those villagers and say, okay, I want to be better at this because I think I have the propensity to do it. I have the capacity to do this. I'm going to work on being a healer villager. And I'm going to work on that within myself, but I'm also going to spend time looking at who can I identify in my life as that person, and who also can I go seek out? And what am I going to do? How am I going to seek out that person? How do I go about finding them? Because that's where people get stuck too. It's like, all right, I don't have a healer, but how do I go get that healer, Florence? And well, that's what the book is about giving you those steps to do it. But what I will say is it's about figuring out who you are first, because that's where you're going to be led to these people. You have to have shared values. You have to have similar interests, similar passions. Doesn't mean there isn't diversity. Doesn't mean you're not picking people that are different from you in all sorts of ways that challenge you. But you have to know thyself first. I always say that. This work in this book is about figuring out who you are just as much as figuring out who you need. I feel like society, especially social media, makes us feel like we are inferior. We are not meeting the mark. We're totally failing, because you look at all these people on social media showing that highlight reel and it looks like they're doing everything perfectly. And you're comparing yourself on this subconscious level to them. You are comparing yourself. And you go to sleep at night feeling like you are the worst mom ever, because that mom put up better decorations than I did. I barely got a pumpkin carved for for thanks. I can't even think of the holiday, Halloween this year. I barely got, pumpkins carved, and I saw the house across the street. She had a whole thing going on. It was like a farm, over there. And I totally let my kids down, and there was nothing magical about the holidays because you're comparing yourself to everyone. And that's also, I think, a very conscious choice that we need to make, not only as mothers, but just human beings, especially women, that we're not going around and comparing ourselves all the time to everybody. And sometimes that means you need to put that phone away and stop that doom scrolling, as they would say. But also, if you are one of these moms that feels like you have to do everything yourself in order to prove to yourself that you can do it, you are doing yourself such an incredible disservice, because we're not supposed to be doing life ourselves. We are supposed to be connecting with other human beings. We are supposed to be asking for help and letting love in. And speaking of letting that love in, if you're doing it all yourself, not only are you not allowing yourself to be loved and supported, you also are taking that benefit away from your children. And I saw this as a nanny very often, where moms felt so competitive sometimes with even me as the nanny, because their children loved me. And they would feel bad when I would leave at the end of the day, and they would say, no, don't leave, and make the mom feel bad. And I understand how that could make you feel in that moment. And I would always pull the moms aside and I go, listen, they're going to be totally fine in 2 seconds after I walk out that door, and they're going to be so happy to be spending time with mom. They're going to forget that I left. I said, but what you need to look at a nanny, you need to look at a nanny in this way. kind of like a godparent or an aunt or an uncle, someone that's in your child's life that in any other circumstances in your family, you would want that child to connect with your family members. You'd want them to feel loved by other people than just the parents. And so if you can reframe that for yourself in your life, reframe it for you, the parent, saying, I deserve love. I deserve that support. I also want to be able to give that to my children too. I want them to know as much love as they possibly can have in their life. I want them to know that they can turn to other people too and ask for help, that they can be supported, that they know that they're not alone in this life. You need to model this behavior for your children. So if you're having a hard time accepting it for yourself, then maybe start thinking about what it is that you want your children to have in their life. And maybe it will start to make you accept that more as well.
It sounds like a nanny is a part of your village.
Yes.
Instead of looking at the nanny as separate, that nanny is actually a very essential part of your village. Just like you said, I love how you phrase, think of a nanny as a godparent. As an auntie. I mean, you say that to your friends. I know my friends who have kids are like, oh, that's Auntie Zen. That's Auntie Zen. Why would it not be? And the nanny is with your children more than I am.
Right. And they are influential. That's also why picking the nanny is important. They're supposed to be an extension of your eyes, ears, and heart. I always say extension of the parent's eyes, ears, and heart. And you want to populate your child's village too with people that are going to be great examples for them. And if you can take the competition thread out of it for yourself, then that's going to open up a whole new world for you. But when you allow your child to form relationships with other people, those are going to become teachers in their lives. The same way that we Zen pick our friends, we're picking the good ones, picking good friends. They should be teaching us a lot of lessons too. I always say inside of me, I feel like is a mosaic. And I take a little bit of this person, a little bit of that person, and it becomes this mosaic inside of me that when I live my life, however I'm living my life, whatever circumstances or situations come up, I reach inside of me into that mosaic and I take that little piece out and I think, that's what I learned from that person. That's how I know how to navigate this situation a little bit better, maybe because that person modeled something for me that was important, that I wanted to make sure became part of me, became part of my fiber. Again, I want you to do this work for yourself so that you can then go out into the world and hopefully have that effect on other people. And it becomes this beautiful circle, this beautiful symbiotic relationship where it's this reciprocation and this give and take and this constant learning. And we're constant students of one another because we're working on ourselves to become our best self so that when we are doing this energy exchange, like we are today, Zen, I'm going to take so much away just from you and know that you're going to become part of that mosaic. And because you taught me so many things today, one thing I can say right now is you're so good at making the person you're talking to feel like they're treasured, that they feel like they're important. And that to me is absolutely enormous when it comes to me then figuring out how I am going to show up for a person, because Zen showed me how I want to improve upon myself because it was the example was provided for me. But again, the only way that's going to happen is through connection.
Definitely, and vice versa. I'm learning so much as well from you. This is just a wealth of information. It is amazing. When is the best time to start releasing your child, meaning letting go as they prepare for college? Because a parent starts to become more of a consultant. What suggestions and advice do you have in regards to that?
College is an interesting transition in life because it's taking a lot of trust from the parents to allow them to kind of, fly the nest. And then also a lot of trust for the college student who probably maybe hasn't had a whole lot of independence before, where they're in charge of their schedule. They're in charge of keeping themselves safe. And, they don't have someone necessarily in the watchtower. And so as you're you're getting ready for this transition with your child, communication, like we keep talking about here, is key. But I want to dive a little bit deeper about that communication aspect. You as a parent for the first time are not going to be able to see and experience the relationships your children have or the ones that they're forming. And, when they're younger, you have a little bit more control over the friends that they're keeping, or, maybe you're not crazy about a certain friend and you're having a conversation about like, this is just a person that it's not good for you. The home life and whatever's going on there, you have a little more control. Well, now they get to college and you don't have as much control with the relationships that they're forming. And the only way that you're going to be able to continue keeping a finger on the pulse of it is if they feel comfortable still coming to you and talking to you about what's going on in their lives. And this is something that starts before they go to college. My mom, before Safe Place was a thing, she was that for me. And my mom always made sure that I knew, and to my siblings as well, that no matter what was going on in our life, we could talk to her. And it absolutely changed how I created relationships in my life, but then also changed how I felt revealing the hard things. And my mom was always there. And when I went to college, I felt like I could call her and tell her about the things I was struggling with, or I could call her and tell her about the joyous things. But I needed her probably more in college than I did even when I was living under the same roof as her, because I realized how much I depended on that relationship to be an anchor for me, but then also to be a place where I could brainstorm things, I could work through things. And it made my mom feel better knowing that she was still needed, that she also felt like she knew and had a snapshot of what was going on in my life there. So that's for you parents that are struggling with this transition. I hope this is answering the question as specifically as this person's asking it. Then make sure that there's a way that they're still going to want to connect back with you, that they're still going to want to let you in on their lives. And that's something you have to work on before they leave, though, because once you're not there within arm's reach, you hope that then they're going to make more of an effort then to reach back to you, because they can feel that sense of missing something, not just them, but the sense of missing something that they relied on.
And what are some ways that they can work on that prior to the child going to college?
Make sure it's in a non-threatening way. If they feel that you're coming at it with a lot of judgment, or you're going to make them feel embarrassed about something that they're going to reveal to you, it's going to keep shutting them down. So that's what I would start working on now, is start drawing it out of them a little bit more in just kind of a natural way, just not prying into their life, not looking like you're trying to pry because you want to catch them in something. Start revealing stuff about yourself as a parent. Maybe the moments you failed, the moments you made mistakes. That's going to bond you to your child too in a very specific way. I say this, do it when they're younger as well, because children think we have it all figured out as adults, that we don't make mistakes, that we don't fumble, but we do. And so I think that's important for you to continuously show your children, is that it's okay to make mistakes, but also model how you correct those things, or talk about things that happened in your past, things that scared you, things that changed you, things that built you up, things that brought you down, things that brought you joy, because you never know when they're going to have to reach back in there at some point when something happens to them and think, I don't know how to handle this, but wait, no, I actually think I might know how to handle this. I know my mom went through this, or my dad went through this, or my aunt, or whatever it is. And I know how they handled it. So now this is going to help me problem solve that. Again, it's those small things that may not seem like enormous, that has enormous meaning attached to it, but those small changes that you can make lead to a lot of big results once they go to college. exactly it. Prepare them, and not to scare them necessarily, but my mom would always say, there's nothing you could do that would shock me or that I don't know about, that I haven't experienced. Or, it's, that should be the point of relationships, is that we just can help each other not maybe have to suffer as much, because someone else has gone through it before we have. And that maybe it makes it a little softer for you if it happens to you. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt or it's not painful, or, that the lesson learned is not going to be a hard one. But if you can know that you're not alone in feeling a certain way or something happening to you, it does help that healing process. It does help you process. And I think it does also help you make better choices during the healing then, because you're able to go back and know, someone told me how not to handle it, or someone said, this is what worked for me, and you're going to try that. It's nice to be able to have an arsenal of things to go into and say, I'm going to look through all this stuff, and I'm going to pick some stuff to figure out, pick some stuff to try. Sometimes it's trial and error. Your relationship with your child is going to be that too. But preparing them, the only way you're going to be able to do that, again, is through communication and honesty. Going back to a single mom and the burnout with the kids. This is where asking for help is probably the most paramount example, because I think oftentimes moms, and probably this mom, has lost her identity to motherhood, and she's got to go work, put the food on the table, put the clothes on their back, and she has to be everything: the disciplinarian, the one that also, hopefully can have fun with her kids, but does she feel like she can't enjoy the kids because she's too caught up with having to actually do the physical labor of taking care of them. So she feels like she's not actually able to reap the benefits of her children because everything else takes precedent. I'm saying a lot of things right now that are, not as many tips, but more generalities about how she's feeling, just because I want her to understand that she probably is asking herself all these questions and feeling this way. And I want her to feel seen and understood about that. But it's important that she knows that all of those feelings are normal for the situation she's in. And I really want her to try to ask for help somewhere in her life. And I know that seems like, oh, that's just an easy fix to it. Maybe there's not money to go to paying for another childcare provider, or it's already having to tighten the belt on that. And I understand. But that's why these connections with people in your community are important. Think about the quantity over quality situation, or the quality over quantity. Is there a way that you, this gal, this mom, can carve out time in her life for some sort of recharging? Because even if that's an hour that she gets to spend with a friend, or she gets to leave the house because someone's going to come in and spend time with those kids, it's just some breathing room for her. It's like it's like the air and the tires need to be let out a bit. Like she just needs to let the air out a bit. So it's about finding places in her life where she can ask people to step in and give her that quality time that maybe she needs for herself to recharge, so she can come back and show up and fight another day, survive another day. Some days it is just about survival. And I think that's how she feels right now, is it's about survival. But it sounds like she is doing a lot alone. And I don't want her to. I want her to try to lean on some people here, so she feels like she does have the opportunity to show up as her best self, because I think she probably feels like she's failing at everything right now. And her children that are acting out, that part of the question too. I think reward charts are a really good way to try to get some control over, sometimes, especially the oldest child, where it's chores, it's responsibility, it's a reward chart. It's starting to make them feel like they have to be a little bit responsible for themselves and for the house, and that they're a part of the house and part of the routine and the rhythm. Sometimes that in and of itself can start to add a little bit more discipline and a little bit more structure to the house when it's feeling a little bit out of control. So I would start there maybe too, and start giving, some chores there to the older one. I know the younger one's still a little too little, but also knowing that they have, her youngest child, that sibling relationship is important too, about modeling that behavior, taking care of your sibling. How do you show compassion for a person? And wanting to model that too, about how do you take care of each other? How do we take care of each other in this house? And having conversations about that. So I know that I went through that. I'm sorry. I know it was 3 parts and I kind of went all over the place in there, but I think she's lost her identity. She's lost who she is. She's just mom and daughter right now, but who is she? And she's not spending time on herself. And that's why I think she feels like everything is just spinning out of control.
Oh my gosh, you answered that so perfectly. Florence, what's the best way to be there for your child when the other parent is hurting them by not being involved enough?
Okay, I'm going to give you an example from my own life. So my parents, my book is dedicated to my mom and my grandmother. They were the loves of my life. They're the ones who showed me the village. My father, he worked very hard. He wasn't around a lot. And my father came from a really bad, childhood. His parents had a very messy divorce. His mother was awful. And my father wanted to try to change all of that when he became a parent. But unfortunately with me, he couldn't break some of that cycle that he experienced. And one of which was that emotionally, he was not regulated himself and didn't really know how to emotionally be there for us kids. And my mom really took on kind of all of that, as well as her parents. They were my emotional pillars. And I would say in a situation with a person that you can't change, I couldn't change my dad. As much as my mom would talk behind the scenes with him about his behavior or his temper or things like that, he couldn't be changed. Helping them understand that some people just aren't capable of certain things. And if you're constantly looking for that person to accept you, take care of you, show up for you in ways that they're not, you're going to consistently be disappointed by it. And so it's you having to no longer take it personally, that this isn't that they're not loved, that this isn't that they're not worth it. It's them. It's the parent that is just not capable of it. And that you telling the child, you are worthy of love. You are extraordinary. You are kind. You are all these things. You want to reinforce that because they're just going to look over here at the parent who's not doing what they wish they would, instead of looking at probably all the people in their lives that are doing that, because we always want it from the person that's not giving it to us. So we have to start not taking it personally and start working on that. And also with a child that maybe needs some extra outside help, maybe a little therapy. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of health insurance, covers that now. And maybe that's something, even if health insurance isn't going to do it, it's maybe something you can make room for in your budget because you feel like it's something that clinically needs to be addressed because you feel as the parents, you don't have the tools to do it. And that's okay. But you want to turn, and maybe even nonprofit organizations that your child could be a part of, that they could be an after school project, that they could go and feel supported and be able to talk about it in a space where other children can relate to it. But making sure they know that it has nothing to do with their self-worth, which is why they're being treated the way they are. That's a lesson I had to learn the hard way growing up, was that my dad was who he was, but it had nothing to do with who I was. And I couldn't take it personally. I'll tell you where it started. My Nana, who I'm named after, her mom, Serafina Ferrara, she was a woman ahead of her time, and she was a businesswoman, couldn't even boil water, was a businesswoman first. She ended up founding, this is a little trivia for you. Do you know the candy lemon heads? Told myself, I think from a young age, that I was going to chase that legacy. And so I am constantly working on it because I was just totally enchanted by the amazing women the legacy that I come from. I stand on the shoulders of giants, as they would say. So I work every day to make my great grandmother proud. Loving as a verb. And thought, people concentrate on the unhealthy things we do in our lives, like the food choices we make or smoking or anything like that. But why don't we concentrate on more the unhealthy choices we're making in terms of relationships that have the same exact effect on us? When you have a toxic relationship, a friendship, whatever it is, I'm going to say this in a weird way, but I think it's going to hopefully resonate. I've had friendships before where you get so much anxiety. It makes your heart race. It makes your heart drop. It makes you not be able to breathe correctly. You feel sluggish. You feel empty. You feel heavy. Think of all of those feelings related to unhealthy life choices, perhaps, that we're making. All of that is the same feeling that you get from relationships that aren't serving you too. So just as that pack of cigarettes isn't serving you, that's making you not be able to breathe, right? It's affecting how you're able to show up for people. It's affecting you being able to go outside, take a walk around the block, whatever it is. Just think about that. Maybe I'll leave you with that image. You're not able to breathe as well when you're smoking that pack of cigarettes. The same way someone in a relationship with you, friendship or otherwise, could also be causing your breathing to constrict because they are not serving you. It's not healthy. I would love to hear from you. Truthfully, I answer every DM that I get. So please reach out to me, FlorenceAnn.Romano on Instagram. You could go to my website, FlorenceAnnRomano.com. You can get the book there or anywhere books are sold. But I truly mean it. Please connect with me on social media. I want you to think of me as your personal village. You are not alone. And if you are one of those people that are listening today that feel like you are and you don't know how to make that first step, please reach out to me and let's talk through it. Let's figure it out together. And, I do hope that if you do pick up a copy of this book, that you do use it as an anchor in your life, as a true north for you. No matter what happens in your life, wherever you are, whatever age you are, whatever season of life you're going through, you can always come back to this roadmap. You can always work it over and over again. That way, that you can always combat that loneliness because you have a place to come home to.
Make sure you connect with Florence Ann Romano on Instagram. Her handle is FlorenceAnn.Romano. That's ROMANO. Florence Ann is transforming audiences everywhere you are through powerful keynote talks on breaking isolation, building intentional communities, and fostering genuine belonging. These are the kind of conversations that the world needs right now. And this is so true, you all. This is so very true. Connection is necessary. It is vital in you living your life, not just existing in your life. And also it's vital to support your purpose here on this earth. And if you'd like to request Florence Ann to speak, visit her website, FlorenceAnn.com. And just so you know, all this information is going to be linked in my show notes on the replay. So how you listen to the replay is you're able to stream this episode after it airs on WBNC. And if you'd like to share it, you can stream it on Spotify. You do not have to have a paid account for Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube as well, you all. So just search the Zen Effect Show. And guess what? If you follow me on social media, on Instagram, it's linked in my bio. On YouTube, it's linked in the About. And on TikTok, my YouTube page is actually linked. And in Facebook, you'll see the link. Okay, so I made it easy for y'all. Take what resonated with you today and carry it into your week. And allow it to activate something real in you. And if you're ready to amplify your brand, get at me, thezeneffectco.com, or email me, thezeneffectco@gmail.com. Tap in and share this conversation with your village. And I'll see you in the next conversation. I'm your host, Zen Howard, and this is the Zen Effect Show. And remember to let your effect speak before words do. Keep your soul hydrated and keep your spirit fortified. And until next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, stay elevated.